Hello! In this video, we will explore the BP Model Editor in K2 ERP and build a simple yet illustrative business process. New User Registration. A BP model makes it possible to visually describe a sequence of actions, divide responsibilities between the user and the system, anticipate different process outcomes, and display the entire logic within a single diagram. First, we open the list of BP models and create a new model for our example. After saving it, we move directly to the graphical editor. In front of us is a workspace where we can place process elements, connect them, and customize their appearance. It is logical to begin any process with a starting point. We add a Start element, which will indicate the beginning of the new user registration process. We immediately place it on the left side of the diagram so that the process can then develop sequentially from left to right. Next, we add a user who will perform the initial actions. In this process, it is the user who opens the registration page and fills in the form by entering their name, email address, password, and other required information. Each element can be configured according to our needs. We can change its appearance, border, background, size, and other parameters. This makes it easy to distinguish between different types of operations, even in a large and complex diagram. After the user element, we add a separate operation for filling in the registration form. We then connect the elements. The arrows indicate the direction of the process. First, the process starts, then the user becomes involved, and after that, the data is entered. The next step is performed by the system. After the form is submitted, K2 ERP must verify that the entered data is correct. We add a system validation block. At this stage, the system can check whether all required fields have been completed, whether the email address has been entered correctly, whether the password meets the established requirements, and whether a user with the same details has already been registered. After validation, the system must determine what should happen next. To do this, we add a decision element. This is where the process splits into two branches. The first branch is triggered if the data is correct. The second is triggered if the system detects an error. This approach allows us to represent not only the main successful scenario, but also alternative situations that may arise during the process. For the successful scenario, we create a Create Account operation. If the validation is successful, the system saves the new user's information to the database, creates their profile, and performs the required internal configuration. At the same time, we create the second branch, which displays an error message. This branch is triggered when the entered data does not meet the established rules. We connect both branches to the decision element. The diagram now reflects the actual logic of the process. The system checks the information and then, depending on the result, either creates an account or informs the user about a problem. For the error scenario, we add an end element. In this case, the current registration attempt is terminated, after which the user can correct the data and repeat the action. We continue the successful scenario with another system process, sending a confirmation email. After the account has been created, the system can automatically generate a message and send it to the specified email address. The email may contain a profile activation link or information confirming that the registration was successful. After the email is sent, the process also moves to an end element. The main process logic is now complete. We can see the start, the user's actions, the system validation, the decision point, two possible branches, and the completion of each scenario. However, as the number of elements increases, the diagram may become more complex. That is why the editor allows operations to be combined into logical groups. We create the first group, called User Flow. This group contains the part of the process directly related to the user's actions, the start of registration, the user's involvement, and completion of the form. The group makes it immediately clear which stages depend on the user. It can be moved, resized, and customized in the same way as a standard element. Next, we create the second group called System Flow. It includes all operations that K2 ERP performs automatically, validating the data, making a decision, creating the account, displaying an error message, sending the email, and completing the process. For clarity, we give this group a different visual style, for example, a yellow background and a red border. Now, even without examining every block in detail, the division of responsibility is clearly visible. The left side shows what the user must do. The right side shows which operations are performed by the system. This type of grouping is especially useful for complex processes involving several employees, departments, external services, and automated mechanisms. When necessary, we can align the elements, change their positions, and adjust the sizes of the groups. The editor allows us to freely rearrange the diagram without changing its overall logic. This makes it possible to gradually add more detail to the business process, introduce new conditions and participants, and define additional process paths. Finally, we add the title New User Registration. The text size, font, and style can be changed. For example, we can increase the size to 24 pixels and apply italics. As a result, we've created a clear BP model that shows the entire registration process, from the user's first action to automatic validation, profile creation, and confirmation email delivery. This is how K2 ERP can be used to visualize, analyze, and design business processes of any complexity.